Hello, I'm Richard Miller, never not here in Australia. We're in Melbourne. And you may remember that before I left for Australia, I had a talk with Guru Shakti Durga and the Shanti Mission. We met the Shanti Mission. And so I've had a couple of talks with people from the Shanti Mission. I've had a couple of darshans and a couple of maybe healings, because we did a kind of a weekend retreat where we did a lot of release work. And they're some of my favorite people. So please help me welcome Parvati Ma. So
hi, Richard.
Thanks for your hospitality here. We're in your center, your house.
Mm-hmm. Our beautiful ashram here at Newport. You're very welcome.
Thank you. Somehow we are born into this earth, into this existence, into this life, and at a certain point we realize that maybe we don't really know it all, or we want to have another take on it or another slant on it, and we go to people that would be our mentors. And sometimes we find a mentor that really takes to us and gives us more than we could even imagine. And in the traditions we call that a guru.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that's, without the experience of it, we really don't understand it very well. We just, outwardly, it can be confusing to see what is a guru different than us, or what is that tradition?
How is the guru different from us? The guru has realized that all beings are God, and that as human beings we have a divine spark, and that divine spark is guru. And the guru's job is to bring us to the truth that we are guru also, that every person is guru. What makes a guru is not only that realization and the wisdom of traditions and the wisdom of the mysteries, but their capacity to transmit energy in an unspoken way. They bring it through their bodies, from the soul, from the divine spark, through the soul, and emanate it to the student. And what makes it go in to the student is actually the student or the disciple's love for the guru. You were saying that until we've had the experience of it, that it's hard to understand, and you're absolutely correct. And I've had the privilege of actually observing my guru become a guru. And before that, just a few years before that incredible initiation happened with her, I was having a conversation with her about how I understood that she had a guru, but I didn't really relate to that. I couldn't resonate with it. I'd been raised in a family of girls with a dad, of course, and a working mum, and raised in a very independent kind of way. And I guess I was plugged into that Western matrix of thought forms that said that the guru-disciple relationship was one of basically inequality. And
it's amazing that you say that you saw your guru be transformed into a guru, because I mean, I'm asking this question, and so many times people come across a guru and they think he was born that way, or he always was that way, right?
Absolutely.
But the fact that you actually saw this transformation really makes you relate to, this is a possibility for me too.
Absolutely, and everybody else. And I think that's partly why it would be in the divine plan that at this time in human development and the development of consciousness, that we would be able to witness that occurring. We all know of gurus who were born as avatars, such as the Dalai Lama, such as Paramahamsa Yogananda, such as the Master Jesus.
That's the ones we probably believe in, right?
Yes,
because we say, okay, you have to be born, but who are you to say that you're transformed, And then those are people that are not really getting close enough to experience it themselves. They're standing back and saying, this must be arrogance.
And they fear the surrender. I think people fear that surrendering to a higher will means a form of imprisonment or slavery, and it's the opposite of that. It's actually vast freedom comes when you surrender to your guru.
I had some experience to that because you might think, look, they all wear orange, they all do this, they all wear a certain kind of clothes, they all wear a certain kind of thing around their neck, or so that they have no choice. But then when you really think of it, everyone's wearing Calvin Klein. They have absolutely no choice, right?
I'm sure Calvin Klein is a guru to many people.
Yeah. No, you know what I mean? Because we're just blindly, and when you just say, I'm going to put on all white, I'm going to put on orange, I'm going to do this, that's probably the first decision you've ever made.
Yeah, I agree with you. It probably is. And because you're doing it, you're hopefully making that decision from a place that is in your heart rather than in your mind.
Well, it's so crazy. It can't be very much in your mind, right? You say, well, why would I ever want to do that? Well, actually, in my interview with Shakti Durga, she says, now, can you imagine if I wanted a name like Shakti Durga?
Yes, I don't think she ever thought that up. And I'm pretty sure, having known her for a very long time, it's not a name she would have chosen with her mind previously. So yes, to discover the name of your soul and to take that on is a very challenging thing to do, especially in a Western culture. And being a woman, there are very few women gurus in the world. So yes, if it were our minds choosing these things, I'm sure we'd have different names. And
I just asked another woman guru once, and I asked her, well, how do you become a guru? Once you feel it, once you know, you just self-declare and say, okay, now I know it? And she said, absolutely not. You're somehow called by someone. She had a line or a
lineage,
a tradition, and she was saying you had to be initiated in some way or some way recognized.
You are initiated, and not necessarily by a lineage holder who is already a guru or a lineage holder. I know of a guru in America whose initiation is undeniable, that he is a Christed being, and his support came from the inner planes, and he also the miraculous occurs around him. So our guru, her initiation was with inner plane masters and the support of her disciples who pushed her into that initiation.
Oh, you're pushy, right?
I can be pushy, but that's my job. Is to the growth should never stop. The divine is infinite, and so are we.
Well, they say the avatars come because of the call of their disciples, so we're all pushy, right?
Absolutely, and the beauty of it is we push the guru, and the guru very graciously we push the guru up. The guru graciously turns around and pulls us up into more of the truth of ourselves. We're never left behind by the guru.
Wow, that is just, I can relate to that totally, because even like at a rock concert, and I can feel the energy, and I feel like I'm giving the energy to the stage,
Absolutely.
Go for it, sing, sing, just fly up
and
there.
It's brought in, and
so
it's
then
turned
it's
around
exactly
and
what
given
you were
back.
saying. That you were saying the guru knows how to give energy, and we all know how to give energy.
We do.
But we just don't think about it as giving it to other in a spiritual way. We think about it just there I thought about it with a rock concert.
That's
and just
right.
a performer or an actor or something like that, and saying, perform well. I'm loving it.
Yeah, the guru is also dedicated to service. In fact, for a master or a guru, serving is above and beyond their own enlightenment. They are way more concerned and spend their energy serving disciples, serving humanity and serving the divine plan, and in turn their own guru, than they are concerned with their own enlightenment. Shakti Durga has written a beautiful book called Spiritual Mastery, and in that she writes about 12 hallmarks of the guru, and that's a major one, that they're dedicated to serving.
So many religions talk about serving and be selfless and help. Okay, Christianity is always talking about the poor, help the poor, help the poor. And I guess they're financially oriented or something like that.
Well, it might be that's a teaching that originated with Jesus, but wasn't necessarily in that time limited to poverty of finance. It might have been help the poor of spirit, help the poor of health, help those who are poor in many, many ways. I'm not sure that help the poor only meant help the poor who don't have money. Right. I think it meant those who are poor of consciousness. Yeah.
Yet that we don't really take that too much, We don't, there's some people, the people that volunteer are probably ones that can't get a job, like young people and stuff, and they say, well, I need some experience, so I'll volunteer. But we never think that like 10% of our time should be to give or support others, or 10% to say something, But you're saying
it's a growing practice to serve, at least for a portion of our time. And interestingly, the concept of, well, I don't work at the moment, and so I'll do some service to get some experience, is actually kind of sitting in a law of flow, where what happens is if you do the service, then it's likely a job is going to come to you, because another great sacred value is, as you give, you will receive, or there are consequences to actions, be in the law of the flow, all of those. So if we do service for people and we're unemployed, then it's likely a job is going to come to us, be magnetized to us, because we've given first. And I think society is heading that way, where it used to be, well, I'll gather everything I can and then I'll give a little of it or some of it. And I think we are in the process of turning around. Our consciousness is turning around, where we give some first and then the flow comes to us.
Well, it's kind of like a lot of systems are under stress, our normal societal systems. So that means it's harder to get a job and so on and so on. And we've heard of people losing their homes to not being able to pay their mortgage because their company was downsized or whatever. Yes. Or these are things that are happening in America anyhow. I don't know. It seems pretty vibrant here in Australia, to tell you the truth, from an outsider. But
I think we did pretty well compared to a number of other Western countries when the financial crisis hit the world.
So then I think that it's going to become clear that we have to cooperate more.
Absolutely.
That we can't just be an isolated island, because there's too many, even of our friends, that are in trouble. And before we would just have said, oh, well, all those people in trouble are lazy, or somehow they're against the system. And we weren't really listening to them and their cries and feeling we could help,
Absolutely correct. We're all at the level of our divinity, we are all one vast being. And what happens to you happens to me. What happens to the person next door happens to me. What happens to a person on the other side of the world is somehow in my life, because we are all connected through that divine spark.
Right. First, that starts out as a good idea, right? Mm-hmm. It sounds like that's an idea that would make the world work. But then somehow we have to let the feeling in, right? Without self-destructing, because there's a lot of pain and a lot of weird things going on in the whole world, and we could be very shocked by it, right?
Yes.
And so then and to drop our barriers in a way, whatever that is, to drop our separations and just really see somebody and feel their life, as a guru does their disciples. But just to allow that, I mean, is there what could be the technology of that? Not how to do it, but like how to not suffer,
Well, I think, first of all, it would be a mistake or a misunderstanding to think that enlightened beings don't experience emotion in the way that other people do. They certainly do experience emotions, and they experience the full gamut of emotions. what is different, I suppose, about the enlightened master or the guru is the development of compassion. And in order to develop compassion, we need to surrender our judgment or transmute our judgment of something being right or wrong into compassion and accurate perception. So it's in that transmutation where compassion is born through the guru or the teacher or the enlightened being, where we're then able to help in a really potent and powerful way, because we're not in a place of pity. And compassion and pity are different.
Right. So
things.
pity is a superiority somehow.
I believe so, yeah.
All right. So anyhow, in order to suspend our judgment, this is kind of a tricky thing because it's almost automatic, right? But I mean, somehow you can take it less important and just say, oh, there's that judgment, but I don't really need it. Or, oh yeah, I used to say that.
Yeah.
Or I think you could look and see if there's a preconception somewhere floating around, because if you have there's a preconception that it ought to be a certain way, and then you look out and say, well, oh, it isn't that way. That's a judgment right there, right? And whatever kind of color you put on that judgment, it might be a pity, it might be an injustice, it might be a stupidity. I mean, judgment will have all kinds of labels attached to it.
And it could be the other way. We could be saying that's right and that's wrong.
That's a judgment too, then, right?
Yes. And yeah, if we're saying something is right, that is also a judgment. It just feels more positive.
Yeah.
But it takes great focus to change your mind about something, because we live not only within our own thoughts and beliefs, but we live amongst, a seething mass of human thought, those of our communities, those of our particular tribes we belong to, those of our country, those of the world. And so I guess I feel really fortunate in our school, in Shanti Mission, because part of our training is the demystifying of how to transmute a judgment, how to use energy from the soul in order to change our thought forms, to literally dissolve a thought form and create one that is of greater service to humanity and to us and more in alignment with the divine plan. And it always involves love.
I think I have a feeling for what you're saying, because I've been through a couple of your days with you and also with Savitur and with others, and I just see that you would just kind of make a release, you would pray for it's a prayer, really, right? Because you're invoking all of the people that have gurus or the powers that came before us, that were standing on the shoulders of all of humanity that came before us, and we're invoking their help. And then we're actually making a good affirmation and then feeling it with energy moving, feeling the energy release, right?
Mostly. We are invoking, we are calling the names of the divine, as many as we know and all the ones we don't know. And we are calling all of the great masters, those who have already mastered life on earth and share that mastery with humanity through unconditional love. But when we do a release in our meditations or in satsangs, first of all, a release, I don't think up a release before I ask a group to do it. It's actually the combined group of the energy that instructs my soul on what it needs. And so whilst we have invoked the help and the assistance and the protection of those great beings, it's actually then enacting our own will and saying, I'm a sovereign being and I am a divine being, a great creator being, and it's my will that I now release this thought or dissolve this thought through the energy of my soul, and it's my will that I plant this new thought, which is of a higher vibration and is of more help to myself and those I love. So we are invoking the help of the masters, but we're also standing in our power as creator beings.
So then this is one thing that maybe a lot of people aren't that used to, is calling in help. So then when we're calling in help, we're calling in beings, right? We're calling in other entities, or so then we invoke the protection.
Yes.
Is that important? That are there malevolent beings out there, or somebody that wants a free ride, or somebody that needs a body that
I think
for an hour rent a body?
Sometimes, and that's probably the subject of another discussion for a whole other time. I think the protection is as much about us unconsciously or unwittingly creating circumstances for ourselves that we wouldn't really want to happen. So a great example of that is the way we unconsciously create chaotic lives. We don't consciously create. Everyone creates their life. Everyone creates a reality. For the most part, for the most of humanity, that's done unconsciously. And I know, if I look at my own example of how my life to be, internally it was chaotic, and many times externally it was chaotic as well. There was a whole lot of what I would have formerly called fun, not a whole lot of self-love, not a whole lot of self-esteem. There was a whole lot of anger. But with the guidance of a guru and a great teacher, backed up and supported by many masters who've already gone through this and through this and through this, I have been able to transmit that into a life of joy, where my foundation is now joy. Once again, that's not to say I don't have a bad hair day, or get cross or frustrated. I do. But sitting under that frustration, which now lasts a much shorter amount of time than it used to, is a joy, a realization that there is a much bigger picture, a grand and magnificent plan working all the time, and that I am a part of that. And whilst I keep in mind that I am a part of that, then I am buoyed up to consciously create a life that is far less chaotic and far more fun.
I had a kind of a realization just in the last couple of days, because, we do chants and we say sacred words and stuff like that, and a lot of times we use the Sanskrit language, and then I was always wondering, well, what if we said affirmations in English, right? And then the people said, oh, the vibration of the Sanskrit is somehow more holy, and I was just thinking, well, it's just a sound, it's made up of a lot of sounds and a lot of intonations. And then I just kind of had this realization that it's not the actual vibration, but it's the fact that it was intoned by these spiritual people. And it's all kinds of people that had a goal and an intention to see clearly what they were. And so then it's actually the people that have said those words. And this is what came to me. I'm not so sure that that's true, but I could be asking that. The thousands of years that people use these words, it's almost like invoking the gurus and all the great beings, and it's invoking the vibrations that all those great beings and their disciples used.
Yeah. I think that you'll get a much clearer answer on this from a Sanskrit scholar, but my understanding is that both Sanskrit and ancient Hebrew are different to any other language that are used now. Insofar as English, German, French, Spanish, Italian, all of the languages we use in modern society are a language of an agreed upon meaning. So this is called a chair in English because we all agree it's called a chair. With Sanskrit, the sound of the word is the thing. It is the vibration of the thing. With ancient Hebrew, it's a very similar thing. The sound of that word is the vibration of that which you are saying, rather than we all agree this is a chair. And I know that my explanation is very kind of superficial, but that's because I'm not a Sanskrit scholar or a Hebrew scholar. And I think it would be interesting for you, someone who loves to sing and loves to chant, to find a scholar who could explain it more in depth for you, because my experience is I can sing English and and my heart opens and I feel a lot, I can sing Sanskrit and I am transported outwards to spaces where I am one with all that is. And the only difference is I'm using a different language. So I think there is something in that those two are seed languages, and probably the only two remaining seed languages on the planet.
So then we're talking about the vibration in words, a vibration of sounds.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, our body is in a vibration too.
Everything is.
And so then probably when it's not feeling so good, the vibration is somehow cloudy or somehow staticky or somehow...
more dense, I would say.
More dense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything in the universe is in vibration. In fact, everything is a sound. It's just a lot of the time our ear isn't attuned to hear the sound of the chair or the sound of the tree or the sound of the body even. But our part of why we are here is to transform that vibration into one that is in alignment with all things. And there's great work by David Hawkins around that, about the scale of consciousness, human consciousness, and its vibrationary resonances. But I do believe that music is the way to open every heart. And I think that is because the universe is created of sound. It's the fabric of everything here.
One good thing about music is, like, if people are saying words, then there's a tendency to say I agree or I don't agree, or like I don't understand. But music, nobody says I agree or I don't agree. They just let it in, right?
That's right. That's right. So, it's when it's high vibrational music, it's irresistible. You can try, and I don't know if you've had this experience in Kirtan where you're chanting perhaps to Krishna, a Krishna chant is happening, and you're chanting away, and you start to have thoughts like, I wish that person next to me wouldn't sing so loud. Gee, I wish that person next to me wouldn't sing so loud. Oh man, I wish that person next to me wouldn't sing so loud. And then all of a sudden something happens, and this opening happens within us, and all of a sudden what bothered us is no longer there, and the vibration of the chant, our bodies are now vibrating at the same vibration of the words we are singing, and that person suddenly is part of the oneness that you're part of, and you don't mind their singing at all. And I think that's part of the mystery of music, the magic of music and the divinity of music.
So then you're singing loud as that other person, right?
Absolutely. Interestingly, I've always been a person, it may not surprise you at all, Richard, that I've always been a person who sings loudly. And I've actually always encouraged other people to sing loudly. I think I've had enough experiences in workshops I've done with incredible people like Chris James, where I've heard people's voices transformed from what could only be described as tone deaf into singing completely in key and sometimes singing harmonies. And it's because in those kind of workshops and in kirtans, you're encouraged to sing with your heart, to sing with all of your heart. So I love it when people sing loud, especially if I'm leading a kirtan. It really, when people sing loud back and when they sing with all of their heart back, then it is that loop where more is pulled through the kirtanyas and offered back, and this wonderful giving and receiving happens where everybody ends up in bliss.
So I was even thinking of that, because I was thinking like, okay, I was going to several kirtans and people were really belting it out, and I was saying, could they do this in English? Could I visualize a Christian choir or a hymn, or I think there's something called tadze or something like that, where people do sing, but it's a more soft thing. And then I was thinking, well, maybe that's just Australia. People let it rip, They're just kind of vibrant people.
We're a little bit of a let it rip country.
Yeah.
I think it's all the sunshine.
Oh, yeah. That Southern Cross, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So anyhow, I was kind of saying the vibration of our bodies, because I was kind of saying, well, the sound or something about the vibration is like how healing works, maybe. I mean, or What type of, I suppose there's lots of different kind of healings, but I mean, here we're singing, we're chanting, we're giving invocations or making releases.
Yep. I guess what we're doing in a satsang or in a group setting in Shanti Mission with kirtans and meditations is that we're performing what we would call ignite your spirit therapy. We're just doing it on a large scale, and that's a process by which we do invoke. The person doing the healing, or in a group sense, the leader of the meditation, the facilitator or the kirtanya, intuits and feels the energy and is given information about what needs to be let go, what appears to stand in the way of feeling more of our divinity. So then releases are done, and it's invoking the will of the people involved. They are using their will by speaking the releases. And then the meditation facilitator or the kirtan leader continues to perceive the energy of the group. And at such a time where it's purified enough to allow the divine energy to expand within them and allow love to expand within them, that's when the happy songs and the happy affirmations and the positive words begin. And this would be the same process that would be followed in a one-on-one healing session.
So could I say will, or is it better to say willingness? Because willingness maybe is more passive, right?
Well, yes. Nothing that we do in our school is a mandate, is a command. Everyone has free will to either enter into that willingness and repeat releases and affirmations or not. Everyone is welcome to either allow the energy into them or not. And in fact, you've been to some of our gigs, and I actually give instruction to people on how to handle if the energy gets too big, how to make it
right
smaller.
I think we don't really know what our willingness. We say, sure, I'm willing, but something comes up and then maybe that's it.
I don't know if I want to let go of that.
Yeah, well, that's it. You said, okay, well, if it feels too overwhelming, then you give a few instructions about how to cross your legs or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
But we can play with the willingness, and just kind of test it and just kind of feel it and just say, is this right for me tonight?
Yes, that's right. And it might not be right tonight, but it might be right tomorrow.
Right.
I feel pretty blessed because for pretty much most of my journey, I'm willing for the roller coaster.
Oh, yeah, how about that? That's great. Well, are you from Newcastle?
I am from Newcastle, yes.
Aha.
And I've only moved to Melbourne recently.
So that's my question, because, I think I've heard that you've done a lot of work with Newcastle to try to transform the city and from an older, maybe an industrial town to something that's more modern and more vibrant and more functioning for everybody within it. And so then we're talking about vibration and we're talking about healing, but then here we're not talking about a person, we're talking about a whole city or a whole mini society.
And I think that's part of the guru tradition too. The guru works on themselves personally, works to serve their disciples and groups, and then the work becomes transpersonal. And we do offer, a guru does offer that service to larger groups, people they've never seen before. So about 13 years ago, Shakti Durga was speaking at a conference where many complementary health people gathered together, and she had devised an affirmation for Newcastle, and it was that Newcastle be a city of spirit and well-being, where many faiths, many denominations, many races, many various groups of people could live in peace, and that would thrive and be prosperous and empowered and peaceful as well. Being her senior disciple and coming from Newcastle, as soon as I began teaching meditation or running meditations in Newcastle, part of my focus was that Newcastle would fulfill this destiny, this affirmation. I think because I loved it so much, it was my hometown, And to me, it had always been this incredible cradle of creativity. Many, many great artists, musicians, actors, performers, as well, sports people, as well as academics and doctors have begun their work in Newcastle, have developed their gifts, whatever it is they want to offer the world, and then they take it out to the world. And I believe that it has this natural cradle-like energy about it, where it supports those people who are growing and want to give to the world. And it seems like the ideal place to me to be a spiritual capital and a capital of well-being.
Were these affirmations written by Shakti Durga exactly for Newcastle, or was it you that just took them into Newcastle and said that, well, here's a test city and I want my city to be the test?
No, it was an affirmation for Newcastle. That conference that she was speaking at was in Newcastle, and all of the complementary therapists that were at that conference were Newcastle and the surrounding area therapists. And so it was a vision she had that what was once an industrial, or what was once a convict and coal mining town, and that moved through industry, but had many incredible natural features. The beaches there are amazing, the land is amazing, the climate is temperate, the valley, the Hunter Valley is beautiful, the Wadigan Mountains are beautiful. It is an extraordinary place that's been a very well-kept secret for a very long time.
So I'm really interested in this because, we're kind of realizing that society has got a lot of problems, and living, and we're trying to spread it out and let other people's problems in, problematic living, and not try to hide it and hide it under the rug or try to be numb to it. Yeah. And we feel like that numbness is really affecting all of our potential in our life. And so then we all want to somehow heal society, but we only think of it in conventional terms, like go out and be an activist, or go out and join some kind of groups, or go out and do social work or whatever. And somehow that doesn't seem to work, or it hasn't really been as effective as we wanted to see it. So then how you could tell us more about the details of this? And I mean, for instance, you said multi-faith. Did you enlist a lot of different religious groups in this affirmation? Or the affirmation depends on how many people are saying it, or really getting in circles, and it's like a prayer circle? Or what? I'm asking a million questions, but I don't.
You are
know.
indeed. I'm just
really
going. Where do I start?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, the work begins within. There can't be peace in the world, and there can't be healing in society unless we're willing to look within and constantly refine our growing edges. And, I think dissatisfaction is a wonderful thing, because it pushes us to the point where we will literally hear our soul or our guru saying, there's more, there's got to be more, there is more, come to the more. Join us for more, join us for this celebration. And it's our dissatisfaction with life that keeps pushing us forward. So to answer one of the first questions you asked, at a community level, how do you do that? Well, you work on yourself. And so the meditations I would run would be where we would do releases and affirmations, much like you've done with us here. And we would do them on ourselves and ask that be gifted to the people of Newcastle and to the city itself and to the spirit of the city as well. And so it was never focused on an out there, that those problems or that lack is out there. The focus was always in here, and that be offered to out there, because really out there is, and this is probably a subject for a whole nother interview as well, really out there is a reflection of an internal landscape. So if we work on the internal landscape and then ask that it be gifted to the external landscape and gifted to whoever it is we want to help, then that's a really powerful way to do it. in answer to your next question, do we hand out that affirmation to many people? Yes, it's been handed out to many people, and we've asked that they repeat it. But also when you enter into a group endeavour, such as meditation, such as affirmations, then it's been shown through research that, for instance, if I was the only person saying the affirmation, maybe this much energy is produced to go toward the manifesting of that affirmation. If, however, I have 5 people join me, it's not 5 times that amount of energy. It's like 1 times 10 to the power of 5. It's an exponential growth of energy. So if I join with upwards of 50 people once a week, and we have this focus on the growth and the improvement and the development of love and the development of peace and the development of personal empowerment as well as group empowerment,
harmony.
Then that's going to happen. And harmony, absolutely.
Inclusion, that everyone would be included.
Yes.
That nobody's left out.
That's right.
Formula.
That's right.
Right.
So it's the group endeavour that empowers the manifestation of an affirmation like that.
So I'd have to say, like I've been troubled, and this, what you describe is very proactive, and it's very inclusive, and it includes the city, and it includes actually focus and attention.
Yeah.
And to know what problems are there, even, you know about it, and that's why you're proactive about it. But it seems like, to me, I've witnessed a lot of spirituality that's mostly focused on personal attainment or personal peace. Mm-hmm. And one way to do that seems to be to cut out the outside, the extraneous. And what and the effect of that is that problems don't come to the attention, And if you deprive part of the world of your attention, it seems like that's an impoverishment. And then still there's a belief in there that says, okay, if I'm in perfect peace, the whole world will work, And I think, well, it'll work for you because it's not even there. The world isn't there for you. But I mean,
that's where
I don't
service
trust that
is
too
important.
much. I don't trust that.
That's where service is an imperative. So I could work in solitude, and that would work if I then lived in a cave. But it wouldn't work if I lived in society. And it's the urge, the imperative within to serve that, as I said earlier, is a hallmark of a spiritual master. For me, there's nothing else to do other than serve.
I think this is really, almost unique with Shanti Mission, because I see that, you're very active in society and reaching out and including people. And so then it seems to me that service takes engagement. And so that engagement, it might not be right for everyone to have the same amount of engagement, but just a little yes grows into a bigger yes. And, you might say, okay, well, what I was doing there, that's not right. I'll put that down. But then but don't be afraid to say yes again and be somehow engaged, right?
That's right.
Without engagement.
Right. Engaged with compassion, with non-judgment, with love. It's not enough to just decide you're going to help someone. You need to serve with their permission to start with. You can't just thrust your service upon others. They need to be invited to participate in that. But
is that a seduction? Do you actually go and seduce them, or if you have to? Or they might just.
In what way?
Or otherwise, some people say you can always do something, even if they're not ready for it. You could talk sideways, talk to someone else, but really they're getting the message over there. They're getting something. Make them a part of it somehow.
With Shanti Mission, there is always an invitation, and I think with Shanti Mission, what helps us engage people is we are visibly happy people. There's a kind of a shining quality.
Well, that's a seduction.
Absolutely, but not seduction in that marketing kind of way or in the traditional way. But yeah, I'm seduced by things that look amazing, certainly. So it is the qualities that shine out from us and the love that we demonstrate with each other that people find magnetic and invite people in. And, you know, not every person is open to our flavour and namaste, because each person should imbibe and swim in the flavour that resonates with their heart. What I find wondrous about Shanti Mission is it is a tradition and a path where if you only want to dip your toe in, then that's all you need to do. You don't have to go any further. If you want to understand the divine plan and the mysteries of the universe, then you can continue your studies with us, and that is made available to you. And every person, from the toe dipper to the mystery seeker, is welcomed and loved and honoured and respected and valued within our school. And I find that incredibly seductive and incredibly uplifting, and I resonate with it.
I testify totally to that. You know, there's no wrong making, you know, that you're not taking a big enough step, or that you're not intense enough, or that you're, you know, I just feel a welcome from all of you that I've talked to that are involved with Shanti Mission, and I feel your love and happiness. And
Wonderful.
it is seductive, and I feel I want to participate, and I want to, you know, do whatever I can to help, which seems to me one of my talents is making videos and getting them up on the web and telling people, hey, this is something, and you know, and then
do you know yourself more, having spent time with us? Are you more aware of yourself? Do you have more love for yourself?
You know, it's hard to say, because like the moment I got into Australia, the whole top blew off my head, you know. I mean, hour to hour, I'm just, I'm just loving myself, and I'm loving my journey, and I'm loving just being spontaneous and kind of living day by day, and just seeing what happens. And I'm loving accepting people's generosity. You know, because that's a skill.
It is.
To be able to accept and accept people's love.
Absolutely.
And so then I'm very honored to be here with you, and I'm very honored to have met you and be in this program and other programs with you. And so,
well, it's a pleasure to have you
Parvati Ma, thank you so much.
Namaste.
Namaste. So everybody, Australia is really worthwhile, so you're going to learn a lot. Follow us, see what's happening with Shanti Mission, and see what's happening with Newcastle. We're going to visit that, and we'll see what we can find. And do an experiment, figure it out, what we're talking about, and let's get your town to be transformed, just like we need the whole world to be transformed. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Richard.